Hey everyone, this is Rachel Gamble with Macon-Bibb Public Affairs. We are streaming live on Facebook right now as we get ready to put it on the website, and we'll start the meeting in just a couple minutes. This is Rachel Gamble with Macon-Bibb Public Affairs, just letting attendees and the public who's watching know we will be getting started here in a couple minutes. We are getting our live stream uploaded at Macon-Bibb.us, so those without Facebook are also able to watch today's Operations and Finance Committee meeting. Thank you. See, now we have Commissioner Schlesinger and Dr. Moffitt. Just so you guys know, we are live on Facebook. Right now we're in the process of getting the live stream onto our website. I'm going to leave everyone muted for the time being while we get this started. We are checking the audio for the live stream at Macon-Bibb.us. We are about ready to go live. As soon as we confirm the audio is working, I will let y'all know.
Morning, Rabbi.
How are you, Elaine?
I'm great. I'm great.
It's like I haven't seen you forever now.
I know it. I know it. I'm just so happy. I'm just giddy when I get to go on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I can only stay on for about a half hour. I got an 8 meeting.
All right, y'all, we are live streaming and we are ready to go. So Commissioner Watkins, whenever you want to kick it off, we're good to go.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Thank y'all all for joining. Yesterday we left off with a discussion. We started a discussion into our public safety program. Of course, had some conversations about recreation and with recreation, some of the recreation staff yesterday. So I want to revisit that conversation a little bit today. And I was also hoping that we had some type of update on the CARES Act funding. I saw Ms. Ross send the email out yesterday. And if the mayor is ready, I guess we can start there because it might have positive implications on our revenue.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any additional information at this point about revenue. I do have a budget related, but not directly in the budget discussions, something to advise Operations and Finance Committee about, because we need to take action on it next Tuesday at pre-commission. And I wanted to kind of give you a heads up about it. We learned that we dropped the ball. You can't believe that, can you? We don't usually drop the ball, but we did drop the ball down in engineering when Dave Fortson retired. There was a kind of a backlog of things on his desk, and Charles Brooks was trying to come up to speed, and somehow we overlooked a requirement dealing with Bass Road. We had hired Moreland Altabelli to do the preliminary concept for Bass Road. They had done the preliminary contract work for Bass Road to the tune of about $225,000, give or take, and everybody was on board with that. Then, as you will recall, Mr. Chairman, the state DOT came down and offered us the Bass Road Improvement Program to actually accelerate it and move it, but because then the bridge over the interstate, it had to be a federal meet all of the federal requirements, as opposed to being a state money only improvement package. What that did was it added about 7 different items that had to be included in the preliminary concept work, including traffic methodology, traffic forecast, traffic models, traffic flow diagrams, ICE stage 1 and 2, pavement design, preliminary MS4 analysis, and this, that, or the other. So the Moreland Altabelli, which in the interim has been acquired by and has now become a part of Atlas engineers, submitted a year ago the update to do this, or almost a year ago. It's an additional $228,000 to do all of the additional work that was done as part of the preliminary design. So this will be coming as a change order to that contract to take it from the original 225, 100% more to up to 453.01. The only good news is this is coming out of SPLOST funds. We've already voted to designate, I think it was $5 million, Mr. Chairman, out of Roads and Bridges other for the Bass Road project. So it won't be coming out of the general fund. It'll be coming out of SPLOST funds. But we wanted to give you a heads up about it and be glad to talk to you about it over the weekend or on Monday, so that you're not blindsided by it on Tuesday at pre-commission.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Is this, Mr. Mayor, is this additional work that was done without our authorization? Or is it
That's Commissioner Lucas. I don't think the work has been done. I think that's what GDOT is mad about. Our engineer Charles Brooks is meeting with GDOT today, and they are really kind of angry that we have not paid the additional money, hired an engineer to do this additional work that's been required. And we told Charles Brooks to represent to GDOT that we would make this an issue for Tuesday and get the money done. I don't think the work has been done, and I think that's why GDOT's mad with us.
Okay, well, we certainly don't want to hold anything up, and now that we know, we can go ahead and do that. But I want to talk with you too about us getting back to work on some other things that we have approved.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, some roads that we've approved, and you know, we said we were going to adopt the stance that we were going to finish up what we've started. And so what I want us to do is to be able to say to citizens, we're all in on Bass Road. We supported and we approved the millions of dollars to go to that in order to get the 30 million from the state. But we are nowhere. We are just beginning Jeffersonville Road as far as a lot of stuff. I looked at the percentage of completion. We need to be farther along on that. And then the other thing, there's a street, Pine Hill, that we approved two years ago for the engineering work was done, but there's supposed to be one sidewalk going in and the resurfacing. That is a dangerous cut through street there that we need to get to work on. And so when you come in with these kinds of things, I'm all for them. But I want us to finish these other things that we also have deemed as important. And I don't think we need to move forward on other stuff until we say we have fulfilled what we said we were going to do on these other things. And I'm always going to take advantage of the opportunity to mention that, because we don't need to get off track on these other things.
I don't disagree with you at all, Commissioner Lucas, and I'll be glad to get you an update on Jeffersonville Road and find out, you know, what the reason is for the progress not being made any faster, and then to go back and try to identify a source of funding for the construction of the sidewalks on Pine Hill and other projects. Because yeah, you're right. We don't need to focus on one thing exclusively. We need to kind of balance a number of items and do them all.
Okay, we all heard you say that.
Right.
I'm gonna
we
try.
heard it. All of you are my witnesses.
I'm gonna try.
Okay, you don't have long now. So
Janice says 223 days.
Oh, she's
but who's counting?
Wow.
I know you are. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you. So, and if I understood you right, we're talking about the additional 200-ish days. I mean, 200 days left with you, but that's not really what I'm counting.
200-something thousand for Bass.
Yeah, but about 228,000 is the number of your request.
That is correct.
Okay.
I can give it to you exactly, 228,808.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we'll take that up next week. But thanks for that information. All right, I know we need to get back into the public safety part of the budget, but while it's still on my mind fresh, I want to talk about the recreation situation one more time. Had a chance to speak with Mr. Moffitt, as well as our Parks and Recreation Director. And I guess two big points when we talk about alternative programming. And again, nothing I'm discussing is contemplating having any youth inside or having any youth activities indoors. The things that we are currently doing, that we've been doing since school ended and at his rec centers. We're providing breakfast and lunch meals to students, and the parks and recreation staffing. Those center directors are the ones that are coordinating and distributing that food delivery. And the other thing that they're doing at minimum, Parks and Rec has been requiring each recreation center to post 2 instructional videos per day. So you've seen some teach fundamental basketball, some will teach knitting, I believe, has happened at the senior center. So they're trying to engage on Facebook Live and doing other things. I asked him about the viewership, and he said the highest viewership on average is at the senior center, which makes sense. And they're averaging a little over 100 plus viewers per post. And the other centers are about in the 50 plus range, 50-ish range with their participation. They have been exploring doing Zoom and some other interactives. He said something that was real interesting to me that I guess Facebook has alluded that they might be getting ready to compete with Zoom with some other type of product like this. So they've just been kind of fielding and also waiting to see what we were going to do before they made that type of time and training investment in such a service. But those things are out there. Reached out and had interesting conversations with a few community organizations. Bike Walk Macon, who hosts Open Streets and is also a national organization. And I guess at several locations around the country, they've used the Open Street outdoor play with social distancing stuff in different communities. So we have a Open Streets program here in Macon already, and we flirted with that program. So they're interested in somehow partnering with Rec if we get to that point and we want to do some outdoor activities. Not saying that we are, not saying that Parks and Rec staff is saying that that's safe, but if you wanted to, there are some opportunities to partner. Say all that to say is I asked a question to, I believe, Mr. Moffitt and also to Ms. Duhart and a couple others, the potential of doing a volunteer furlough program in that department. Because I understand that there are some employees that are truly scared and would like to go home and don't want to be in that environment, and I respect that. This is an interesting time. But there are also some that those kids that they serve are their everything, and they are concerned. Maybe they don't have kids themselves, and they're using PPE, so their concerns are less, and they would like to be at work. It's not a monolith of a decision that I know is coming from the departments and the different directors. And with what I'm saying, an alternative program, whatever the staff is that's available that still wants to come to work every day, use them to distribute the food, adjust the schedule how we need to, adjust the webinar series how we need to, and provide some level of service to our youth and our community is what I'm advocating for. And the way I want to fund that is with 1% off of the sales tax projection. So the sales tax projection that was currently proposed was a 33% reduction in sales tax. We've looked at sales tax receipts and returns from the past 2 months, and I think we can all agree that that's a little high, if not a lot high. So I'm talking about 1%. So taking the projection from 33% to 32%, and that produces about $330,000, roughly $300,000. And that would be enough to fund half of half of your summer program. So that's the idea that I'm thinking. Does that sound wild or in the realm of possibilities? Is my question to the rest of the group.
What did the recreation director say?
I think one of his biggest concerns is the services that they're doing now. That if we furlough, we lose out on the food program and the current webinar series, because the staff that we're talking about furloughing are those people. And also, if there was a group who wanted to do outside activities, those are the folks who would coordinate and secure and whatever with the facility. So to me, that was a major component, that just to keep the service offering that we're currently doing today, that we need to make some consideration of modification to what we're planning now. Otherwise, it's going to stop 100%.
Mr. Chairman,
service is rather major because it is giving some level of contact and accountability and engagement with the youth, even though it may be at a 6-foot distance. You know,
Mr. Chairman, question: Are you talking about eliminating completely the furlough, or are you talking about taking it from 4 days to 2 days, or something like that?
I'm saying that it's voluntary. Whatever is voluntary. If an employee wants to furlough himself for the requirements, I believe you said 4 days or whatever it is, to make the pool benefits work, that they can do it. But if an employee doesn't want to do that, and I think it's important to note that there are some life situations, and depending on that employee situation, where the pool or the unemployment benefits may not be a guarantee, or it may not. I know, and it's interesting to me, and it's kind of it's an interesting point that we pay enough where unemployment benefits can be more beneficial. That's something that we need to work on. Hopefully our pay scale addresses that. But that's kind of embarrassing that an organization of our sizes, that's a thing that happens. But that's not 100% sure. Again, our employees on a monolith, so that's not 100% sure, true of all of them. There are some concerns, and I think truly some people who would like to come to work, and we have stuff for them to do. So if we could give those folks that want to do it the opportunity, that's my thought.
Can you do it as a separate work group and then, input that information into the meeting? Because it looks like there are a lot of different angles to this that we're not going to be able to work out here. Could there be a separate work group, of the obvious people working on developing that and then bringing it back, and let's see if we can plug it in?
Yes, definitely. And I guess kind of my request to this organization is to at least give them the budget to be able to do something, because right now we budgeted them at 0, and if we can't free up any revenue to give them an opportunity to stay on if they want to, I think that meetings are without. So I guess that's kind of what I'm requesting, is 1% off that sales tax to give us the opportunity. If those meetings come back for some reason that it is a bad idea, and I guess we can replace it. But I don't think it's robbery from our budget or our revenue to move that 1%, particularly based off of what we're seeing with the sales tax. Originally, we agreed at 33%, and the data that we received so far doesn't really support that level of cut. So that's my logic.
Okay, well, I'm willing to do whatever we need to do, but I think the idea of taking this premise, your approach number 2, as well as what we got in front of us, the furlough plan, and letting them work on it, and then coming back pretty quickly with some recommendations. And then we can deal with it. I'll support you to do that, because we can always change it if it doesn't work out.
All right, great.
Can I make a comment on that, Commissioner?
Yes, please.
I just want to mention that for state unemployment insurance benefits, there's a requirement that you are involuntarily put out of work. And so if you set it in a way where people can choose to voluntarily furlough, they're basically taking unpaid leave. I suspect that they would be ineligible for unemployment insurance benefits in that case. And I suspect that they wouldn't be eligible for any of the federal $600 a week stipend either.
Yeah.
So it's all or nothing. There's no scenario that we can create to do that.
Well, it has to be us telling people that they are partially unemployed. It has to come from us making that directive. So if you say, such and such employees, and you can select them, but those employees, you can't come to work 4 days a week. That's different from an employee, for example, saying, well, I want to just furlough myself, 2 days this week, 3 days next week.
All right, so
Like,
due to the fact that I've only budgeted for half the department, I mean the voluntary is moot. Only half of them can show up to work. If we've only budgeted, does that take away the involuntaryism of it?
as long as there's some sort of directive telling those people that you're not funding, we're not funding you, there's no work for you to do, don't come to work, then I think that probably would be considered involuntary, but I just wanted to raise that issue.
All right, so there is some, the words and the periods matter when we're writing this up, but is there a way to do what I'm trying to do? I guess before I get too.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that we can be creative and try and work with Dr. Duhart and Dr. Moffitt to see if you can't do some sort of an inquiry as to which employees this would create the greatest hardship, that kind of thing, and then make your decision based on that. If some say, well, it wouldn't be that much of a hardship on me, and others say, oh, that'd be a terrible hardship on me, then you can make your decision based on that and select the ones that it would be the least hardship on, to then be told you can't come to work 4 days a week.
Okay.
I would think we can be creative and make an inquiry before we act.
Mhm. You got to look too at schedules for school, when that schedule comes back in, that may be shifted. I'm hearing as late as like September, maybe. And depending on the statistics, depending on what the virus does, then, it could be some other, you don't know. So you got all those things to deal with too. What happens with different entities as far as state openings or reclosings and things like that. So we got to deal with all of that. It's almost like I don't know, there's just so many variables that we've got to deal with as we go along. I still am concerned that we're going to have this virus around. The experts are saying that it is with us. We might not ever get rid of it. But we're just kind of held hostage because our numbers certainly are not going down. They're going up. They're still going up. So I don't know. I think we take a chance when we plan for anything that involves those large groups of children being together, and we place them at risk and our employees. So we got to keep that in mind, whatever we do. We got to keep that in mind.
Definitely.
Mr. Chair, before you go on, I've got a conflict with an ACCG pension board meeting that I gotta go to now. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to bail, but I'll keep posted on what's going on here the best I can. And if there's anything you think you need to tell me, just give me a call.
All right. We have a full committee, so we're yeah, man.
Who else?
Rolling today. Commissioner Shepherd's here, Commissioner Bivens.
Oh, really? I didn't see.
Did I see a hand just then? Or is that the Rabbi logging
That's
in?
just me. I'm just pushing the leave button.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that looks
Right.
scary.
No, well, I was trying to catch
Dr. Moffitt, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was trying to catch Commissioner Schlesinger before he left, just to remind, I guess your schedule is Tuesday at 9 o'clock. and then we have the public hearing Tuesday at 6. And then again, committee Thursday at 9. It was my hope that the committee meeting Thursday at 9 would be your vote out of committee, because the next meeting is Tuesday on the 9th, that your committee would present the budget to the full commission for approval. So I just wanted to re-verify that schedule with you. That's what we tentatively agreed.
So yeah, I mean, I heard hope involved in that. We'll see how it goes. I think we're going all right now. So yeah, but I do understand that we have the public hearing on the 2nd. I mean, yeah, on Tuesday.
Correct.
How are we doing the public hearing?
We're doing the public hearing with the advice of the county attorney's office, that we put out for citizens to email their comments to the clerk. The clerk would then give those emails to the county attorney's office that will put them into a format that will be read at the 6 o'clock meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think part of the thought was, I know there was a question about the possibility of adding the public onto the Zoom or having an open Zoom line. And part of the thought was the difficulties that we've had learning how to mute and control those type of things. Imagine that with 500 or I don't know, even 20 new people on, could become quite hectic. And if there's one in that situation with ill intent, could be very hard or very distracting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I get it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before you go on, I wanted to go back to something. We had some information given to us on municipal court. You remember I asked the question specifically about the furnishings?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know over there we have funded new furnishings for probably most of the courts over there. And municipal court, from what I understand and from information I've gathered, they are operating with furniture that is, they're not able to lock some desks. There is used furniture that is not appropriate for them. And I'd like to ask if our county manager can look into that and see and make sure that our municipal court is able to operate efficiently. They were down at the bottom in the basement at City Hall for a long time in cramped conditions and outdated equipment and stuff. And they have been approved, I noticed, for new computers and something else. But they don't need to be treated differently than any of the other courts or any other departments. And so I would like to ask our county manager to look into that and to ensure that municipal court working conditions are acceptable and that
Yes,
their
ma'am.
equipment and furnishings are up to par.
Yes, ma'am. I'll follow up with that. That is no problem.
All right. Getting ready to jump back into the sheriff. Well, before I go, Lana, do you need some type of action from us to be clear on moving forward with recreation, or what would you recommend next to close that part out?
I would respectfully request an action of a budget amount you would like to modify, so we can go ahead and put that in the budget document.
All right. Like I say, so my motion is for 300,000 to be generated from changing the sales tax revenue line item from a 33% reduction to a 32% reduction. So generating an extra roughly 300,000.
I will have that calculation in a moment.
All right,
You need a second,
please.
or I'll second that to have them to do this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
at this particular stage, since we're making an adjustment to the sales tax number, are you prepared to have the overall discussion of how much you would like to adjust the sales tax number to?
So right now for this move, I was really talk to me a little bit more. What you thinking?
Well, based on the sales tax number that we gave you on yesterday, we feel like we could probably adjust that number instead of a deduction of 10 million to a reduction of 5 million. Based on just doing the math of where it came out. So
the way you want to take the sales tax number, just talk. I heard you say the reduction thing, but talk to me about the sales tax first.
If you recall in the mayor's presentation, we showed you the sales tax number at a number of, hold on.
I think for some reason I got 33 in my head.
Yes.
30 to 33.
So
31.
We showed a pre-COVID number of 32 million
32
with a anticipated reduction down to 21.4 million, and that was representing the 33%.
Right.
So if you were to do the math on that, we would now anticipate, instead of that loss of 11 million down to a loss of 5 to 6 million.
All right.
So that would make the new sales tax number roughly about 26 million.
6 million. All right. So let's do that, and then I know for me personally, 300 to go back to recreation to salvage that. And if I'm understanding you right, y'all are talking about 5 million to
because
decrease the fund balance penalty, or
correct, because those were the items that we were looking at. You're right, was 10 million in fund balance, 2.8 in all employee except sworn furlough. That was the 1 day of pay period, the 600,000 for recreation, and the vacancy factor number, which was 3.1. And if I'm listening to your conversations, you've pretty much gone along with our recommendations for the vacancies in the various departments. We've been working hard on holding that line and looking at the critical needs. So if you leave the vacancy factor alone, then what leaves on the table is the recreation furlough conversation you've been having and the all employee conversation you've been having. And so that will leave those three areas. How much will you agree to fund the budget with fund balance? How would you like us to proceed with the all employee furloughs? And you just suggested $300,000 on the recreation furlough.
All right. So actually now we have a lot to kind of process through on that. All right, and that makes sense to everybody. Anybody got any follow-up questions? I think I got everything that Mr. Moffitt was saying. Anybody?
So basically, we're accepting the majority of their recommendations, but we're just kind of tweaking.
Now, I'm not 100% there yet. I'm not 100% there yet, but I'm accepting his numbers as truth, I guess.
Well, I kind of am because they've done a lot of study on it, but I know that we're going to have to make adjustments mid-year. And I know things are going to just flip-flop, and we're going to have lots and lots of things to blend in this thing as we go along for the first half of the fiscal year. But January, I know that we're going to have a lot of adjustments to make. So that's why I'm not as concerned about changing a lot of this.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to do what's been recommended in most cases.
Yeah. And I'm 95% there, but I got like, indulge me with like 3 little points.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely with the vacancies. So I understand what you're doing with the vacancies, and the 3.1 is fine. We already talked about recreation. On the all employee furlough, would there be any pushback to moving that to the second half, or where we was are you still thinking July 1st implementation for half day, or second half as needed full days if we get there?
I like second half, you know, because I think we're going to rebound. I think there's going to be some improvement in some areas, and I don't know. That's just my preference. You know, the second.
So just for clarity, are you saying take that amount in half for the year for the annual?
I'm still saying the same amount, but
the same amount, but then instead of 1 day of pay period, if the crisis comes back, then starting in January, we'd be looking at 2 days of pay period.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So leave that amount in there. Okay.
That's the gap. I guess that's what I'm asking. That's kind of the option. I think we all, if I'm reading the room right, we all agree that a furlough it may be a decent thing, but whether or not we want to play the second half game. I was hoping I could hear from Commissioner Shepard or Commissioner Bivens on that. I see the mayor with his hand up too.
The only thing I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, was if you push the furlough back to only the second half of the year from January through June, then whereas it was a half a day per week or 1 day per pay period for the whole year, if you do it and save the same amount of money, you're going to be saying 1 day a week, 2 days a pay period for 6 months to accomplish the same amount of savings. Is that what you're
Yes, sir. Yes, I think that's exactly what we're discussing.
All right.
It might not be necessary, and that's what I'm hopeful that we'll get our money from the state, we'll get others in, and we'll rebound and not even have to do it. That's what I'm.
Yeah. What was anybody else any thoughts on that one? We'll see we'll come back to it. Well, I guess we need to, I still haven't gotten, we open up the conversation. The other piece that I'm curious about, I know you're implementing the pay scale, and that's coming in short order. But in the short term, the pay of starting deputies, what would be the cost and the consequence of, for new people that are hired, we're now hiring you at that 45 number? And
okay, now I see I see an option.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It just strikes me that ends up solving some problems. So I was just wondering on the feedback on that. And one of the things that I noted is that there was a significant salary savings coming from the sheriff's patrol line. So we cut a lot of his vacancies out, and I just wondering if we could use some of that money to fund increased salary by $5,000 or $6,000.
Well, please note that we are working on the pay scale. I met with the fire chief this morning to discuss his department. I'm meeting with the sheriff today at 1:30. So I know you are very focused on trying to do an adjustment right now, but we're trying to do this systematic, and we're trying to do it comprehensive with the whole government. And so just know that we are still working through that, but I do recognize that you are very focused and determined to try to do a salary adjustment now. But if we do anything now, it's really going to throw off trying to create the overall plan.
And I guess I'm limiting that to, and I understand and respect your point, but I was just limiting that to the one place where we have the biggest problem. to do something in the short term that I just hadn't heard much kickback on it. It seems as though most of us agree that 45 number is the number, and in the study may come back that we need to do 47. I guess is what you're saying.
So
No.
wait and
No.
get the pay scale.
So is there any dispute on that 45? I don't.
Yes.
Okay. You think it's too high?
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to talk to the sheriff about that also.
All right. So y'all talking a little later today?
Yes, sir. At 1:30.
All right. Yep. And that's my general. Those are my general thoughts. So let's get. I need to do a couple of actions. Michael, help me out. I know we opened something on the table. There's an action.
I don't know that I heard a
currently pending.
motion for anything.
There
Well,
wasn't a motion. There was a motion and a second for something. Yeah,
well,
there was a motion and a second for the 300,000, and then I guess that's been amended now to a 5 million adjustment.
Well, let me give you the exact number.
From 3226.
In the mayor's budget proposal, under the sales tax number, where we anticipated a 33% reduction based on the numbers we had on that day, we proposed a sales tax revenue number of 21.4 million, really 21,423,395. That's on one of the slides. We would like to make that new number 26,291,395.
Okay.
Again, that's 26,291,395.
So that's a 5. It's not 5 even. That's what you got that.
See that 47 number.
Yeah, so that's an addition of 4,768,000.
4.7 or 407.
4,768,000.
Okay.
And Dr. Moffitt, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would say is that this is based more on the fact that we did better in April than we thought we were going to do. We still lost money, but we didn't lose as much money in sales tax collections in April. But that's just 1 month. But since we lost, rather than what we were fearing was a worst case scenario of a $900,000 drop for the month of April, we only saw about a $450,000 drop in April. So if you annualize that rate of loss, you're about $5 million. Whereas we had initially projected using the 900 figure, about a $10 million loss in sales tax. So you're making a pretty dramatic move to say, well, we're going to cut that in half. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how the sales taxes are going to come in or what other revenue sources may come in to help us. But I just trying to make the record clear. When you make that sort of a change of $5 million, switching, you're adding the revenue. I'm not sure it's going to be there, but if it's not, then hopefully there'll be something else. Otherwise, we're setting ourselves up for some really hard decisions in the second half of the year.
And Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely correct. And again, please note my team is around the table. Ms. Moore with budget, Sharita Grant, Christy Finance, Ms. Duhart with HR, and they are telling me to further explain that if you leave the $2.8 million in the all employee furlough, if you don't implement it until January 1, that we will need to do a $2.8 million supplemental for the remaining salaries. Hold on, I'm saying it backwards. Tell you what, I messed up when I did this yesterday, but I'm gonna turn the camera.
We just want clarification that you understand that if you want to keep the reduction of $2.8 million to recognize an all-employee furlough, but you're asking that it wouldn't be implemented until January 1, that if at some point you decided you didn't want to implement in January of 21, numbers have come back so great. At that point, we would need to put a supplemental on in order to pay the remaining year's salary. We just wanted to make sure you all were clear on that.
We need to make the point too, that because this administration has worked, that's the mayor and the other commissioners, because and the finance team have worked so hard on healthcare, on retirement, on all of these things, tightening up. Departments have sacrificed and have gone without some things that they really needed in order for us to have the fund balance that we have, in order to be able to cushion what we're trying to do. So let's make sure we're taking credit. Also, we got a lot of challenges ahead, but we need to make sure we take credit and don't let people make it seem like that we've not done anything at all. We are headed in the right direction, but we didn't have any control over COVID. We would not have had that to happen for anything in the world. But we do have a cushion that we can use. So I think that's a positive, and I'm just real optimistic that mid-year we're going to be in a positive light, and we'll be able to have some good outcomes.
I totally agree.
And that's for those mayoral candidates that are out there, you know, misrepresenting stuff. They need to stop that and get the figures right, because they're just so wrong and misleading people.
All right. And I was trying to use this Facebook Zoom chat function. I don't know if y'all can see it, but so the motion is to add 4.768 million to sales tax revenue line item. As everybody's in agreement with that. I got it out there in the form, not sure who I see it on. But that's what we understand, right, Keith?
Correct. Correct. Now,
All
if you're adding that revenue on the revenue side,
right. We're finna get to that. We got three other moves we finna make. So give me.
Okay.
All right. So the next one is to 300. So 300 to recreation expense.
And that's pending whatever that group work group comes back with.
And the next would be move furloughs the second half. That's still 28 days. 28 days. Am I saying that right?
Correct. So 24 days, but 2.8 million. Yes, sir.
By the way, the state is talking furloughs too. And a lot of places are talking furloughs worse than we're. You know, this thing has been devastating to everybody's budget.
I don't think that's spelled right. And
it's not.
Too many U's.
No, yeah, the O and the U in the wrong place.
Oh, okay. So in the next, so that would be 4.468.
Yes.
And currently, we're saying move that to fund balance, or what's the right way to say that?
Yes. Reduce the amount needed in fund balance by the remainder, and that would balance it. What's that number?
Is this all one single motion that you're just working through?
So I was working through it. Michael, you advised on the best way to do it. I was putting it in word form so we could all see it. And if you want to do either one of these lines at the same time, tell me.
So
go ahead. Yeah, if you want to do it as a vote for everything, that's fine.
Okay, that'll work too.
Mr. Chairman,
To reduce
Yes.
that by
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the number.
we've gone back and forth on so many things. I'm not sure where we are.
Okay, I think I can sum it up for you, sir. If I understand what you want to do correctly, you would like the motion to be to increase the revenue line item. I'm sorry, to increase the sales tax number by $4,768,000. You would like to reduce the reduction for the recreation furlough from 600,000 to 300,000. You would like to do the timing mid-year for the all employee furlough, therefore removing the $2.8 million.
2.8 stays in there.
I mean, 2.8 stays in there, but you would like to move it to the second half of the year. I apologize.
Right.
Therefore, you would reduce the amount of fund balance from $10 million to 5.232 million.
Okay, is that practical based on everything that's been considered by the administration so far? All this.
Yes, sir.
I think so.
Yeah, yes, sir. And the reason why I did it that way, because whatever you do on the revenue side, you have to do on the expense side to keep the balance, to keep the budget balanced.
All right. And one other thing, I mean, I was kind of muted and I didn't get to say this earlier, but when we talk about recreation, I'm as sympathetic to that as anybody. I'm still concerned about the safety aspects. I mean, children getting together in one place, it's difficult to get children to social distance. So I think anything that gets done needs to take that into consideration. They're gonna have to touch each other.
Agree.
That's just the way kids are.
I think there may be a way to do some outside activities, but honestly, with my conversation with Robert Walker, the director, he wasn't too thrilled about it. So my thoughts are, even if something like that happened, it probably wouldn't be directly related to Macon-Bibb County. There are some churches and some other outside organizations who are interested in that type of stuff. But like I say, in talking with Mr. Walker, his main concerns were continuing his food distribution program and his webinar series is what currently our staff is primarily focused on.
Right.
So everything that just got mentioned, I'm gonna make that in the form of a motion as previously stated. We have a second for the purposes of further discussion.
Mr. Bivens, did you want a second?
Second.
All right. Further discussion, concerns? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oh, that's not.
This motion carries. So
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Can we get Commissioner Shepherd to say hello?
I did. I just said aye.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Scotty.
I'm here.
And Mr. Chairman, over the weekend, we will clean this document up in the big picture view and send you the numbers, because I'm sure legal's gonna want us to see the spreadsheet of this to make sure everything balances. So
all right, that sounds good.
I'm pretty sure our math is correct based on what we just said, but we will clean it up over the weekend and update the new document for your review.
All right, sounds great. For me, it's Friday, so I'm sure we can end early if y'all want to and end on a high note. But I did, so now that there's a little bit of extra cash, and I want to think about it in terms of the right-of-way maintenance and our grass cutting. I know that, and you have some funds allocated, just as we're gonna talk about talk a little bit more procedurally on how the Parks and Recreation is gonna work. I also wanted to spend some time talking about our right-of-ways, grass maintenance, and if possible, something about those, as not quite right-of-way maintenance, but the ADS tree limb situation, because that's still lagging a lot. And if money is the problem, let's have an honest discussion about it, because our city looks kind of trashy.
Can we look to see what we can use SPOS for? I think sometimes we think in terms of general funds, but we've got what 9 or 10 different buckets in SPOS. And sometimes when people have a pet project, they look, and all of a sudden some money miraculously appears out of a bucket. So I mean, we need to take a look at that and see what fits some of these things, like the lighting and the sidewalks and stuff. That's all under pedestrian safety. So sometimes we don't think about that, but that's why we put it in, so that we could increase the safety of pedestrians out there. And lighting, all of that, that's public. The lighting is crime prevention too, which is public safety. So I want us to look at the SPOS buckets and see where some of these things that you're talking about, Mr. Chair, we could possibly fund.
Well, as we know, SPOS is separate than the general fund.
Yeah.
We're doing today, but I'm always willing to offer. We can come in and always give a mid-year SPOS update on where we are with everything. Clay keeps up with all that information. Going back to the solid waste, that's a separate fund also. But one of the things that we know is we're trying to build that fund up, bringing you the approval to purchase more equipment that we can go out and do more work. I've said repeatedly that we have an aging fleet. You did approve the purchase of 4 new pieces of equipment. As a matter of fact, we have one that I'm glad you mentioned that I need to bring to you at pre-commission. You've already approved the money. The gentleman that the company that's selling it to us would like us to go ahead and get a PO, because he has another buyer for the bush hog that he would like us, because we've committed to purchasing this. So we'd like to go ahead and do that contract. So we are engaging in or in buying new more equipment so we can do more work. So we are putting that plan together. But if you would generate a list of the questions that you have for us, and on Tuesday or next Thursday we can talk about the plan or try to answer them as best we can. But the right-of-way cutting that we've been referring to, again, we are working. We've lost the prison crews. I think we only have one prison that has indicated that in the coming months that they're going to allow crews to come out. So we are going to have to look at a different way to go about cutting some of our right-of-ways, because those prison crews were a tremendous help, especially in the cemeteries. So we may have to try to bid out and find another outside contractor, but we know that the prison crew cost was just, they're not going to be able to beat the cost of the prison crew. So we may have to do some type of adjustment as we look at how we can continue that mowing schedule.
Yeah.
But if you have a list of questions or items, if you can start formulating them or email them to me or just bring them up, we can start addressing them.
Yeah, and I think that's good. Because if I'm reading this right, it seems like on the overall nuts and bolts of the budget, we're somewhat satisfied with the numbers as they sit now. But if we can take a little bit of the extra time that we may have over the next couple of weeks to talk about how we can operate a little bit better with the numbers, I think that'll be an advantage to us all. So I know I'm gonna try to find over the weekend. I try to figure out a format for us to discuss some stuff like this. Mainly right now, it's the right-of-way maintenance and the grass that I really wish we could solve, or at least come up with a strong plan for. But I'm sure there'll be some other things too. Was the water park operator going to join us today, or did you hear anything from him?
Well, the governor's order on yesterday moved the date of water parks, I think, to June 13th. Okay. So we called him on yesterday, and we're waiting for a call back, find out what the plans are. But again, I just want to stress that we're taking the position that we have turned the management of that over to this vendor, and that we will see his plan, and as long as he's meeting all the requirements, through the governor's standards that he is free to operate.
All right, so just I'm curious when you talk to him about his PPE and all that plan. If it's not top notch, we're gonna have to revisit that with a few issues. So
Okay.
and I guess another thing on PPE, we would have got to the EMA budget today. I don't see us like doing a huge purchase of PPE stuff in the budget. Is that assumed somewhere, or how y'all like the face mask?
What we've done is what we have done is we've collected that, and we've collected that data. Initially, we were going through the facilities department with their supplies, and now we've been able to use the some of the wellness account money that we had left over from last year. If you recall, we get a rebate. So Blue Cross Blue Shield has graciously allowed us to expand that so we can use wellness funds to cover the purchase of PPEs. Plus, last week we were, not last week, but Tuesday, we were notified that we received a grant that covers, it was for what, about $250,000, $225,000 for PPE. And so EMA is spearheading that for us. Say again? Oh, yeah, and that helps. Matter of fact, part of this grant was able to cover some of the overtime in the fire department. So we are collecting this data just in case we are able to get a reimbursement from it. But we've been very, the problem was not identifying funds, so to speak. The problem was really identifying the supplies, because everybody in the state or in the nation was trying to collect these supplies. So as we found places that were selling the sanitizers, the masks, even the gowns to some of the departments, we went ahead and I authorized an emergency. So we would have to go through the normal. If somebody came in and said, I have $10,000, being that we know they were in short supply, we were able to go ahead and make those purchases.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Is there any money left? You know, each commission district had $1 million. You remember the million? There's some money left over. I know there's a little left in District 3. I'd like to see how much is left of that, and maybe we can allocate all of that to a specific, let's say, a specific purpose.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
And I think collectively there are maybe a couple 100,000 left. It's not a whole lot for any one individual. It's like the leftovers,
right?
15, 20 for me, like that. So I like that idea, and yeah, we'll try to put that.
And maybe you could clean up some areas that we know,
I like that.
are always dirty or whatever.
Are you referring? Are those the blight bonds that each commissioner has?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's still some residual. I think everybody has a little bit.
Cass will have that information. I will ask Cass to come and give y'all a report of what you have left. I don't know if you can use it for PPE, but I don't want to confuse the conversation. But Cass can give you a report on what's left in each district.
Yeah, I think she was moving on. At least I was to talk. Well, I flipped back to blight and right of way type stuff. Maybe we can use that to clean up some illegal dumping sites.
Yeah, those kinds of things that we can all agree on, that because we can't do too much with, say, 25 here and 25 there and whatever, but we can put the rest of it together and have a common type goal.
All right, I'll contact Kaz and see when he's ready to give you a update report on what's left in those funds.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Anybody got anything else? I'm actually thinking about this adjourning us while we're on top here before.
Sounds good to me. It's Friday.
All right. And our next scheduled return is Tuesday at 9.
Yes, sir.
And on that same day, we also have the public hearing, which should be an interesting process for us all. So it'll be our first time doing one like this. And that's at 4?
It's at 6.
Oh, that's at 6.
Yes.
Right.
You have pre-commission at 5.
Right. And the public hearing at 6, and then the regular meeting to start when the public hearing is over.
Okay, yeah, pack a lunch.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to make one more request, and that that is for the county manager. Whenever we have gone to other cities, their public access channel, and we have 14. There's something wrong with it. It only shows programming for a short period of time. I would like to see that be continuous. There's so much going on in this community that people need to be aware of. And I know the public information folks do an excellent job. They've got plenty of information, but they need to get it, they need to be able to get it out there. So I'd like to see what it's gonna take to get us, get Channel 14 operational, 24/7.
I think, Mr. Chairman, that Chris Floor had a very positive report a week or so ago that he gave me about Channel 14. So we'll get that information and get it to you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, one of the things that I really have been meaning to bring up for quite some time now is what Commissioner Lucas has said. I happened to be in Tifton a couple of years ago, and I looked at theirs. And the thing I liked about it is that there are so many things going on that people don't know about in Macon-Bibb. And it could be good as far as, our tax income and all. But what they did is, when I was in Tifton, I could look at that government channel and pretty much have an idea of everything that was going on. So if I wanted to go somewhere or do something, I could look at that channel and see it. And I wish we would do something similar to that. For instance, there are a lot of programs going to Douglas Theater. They don't have any kind of a signage, but if the items were put on a program like that, people who might be visiting and our citizens would know. So I think I would like to see us have something that runs all the time, like she says, and to talk about what's going on overall. Not just something where somebody gets on there and talks every once in a while. That doesn't seem to have much meaning to me.
Fade it out, Commissioner Bibb.
I just like to see us have a program, and maybe somebody could check out what they have in Tifton as an idea of the things we can do, because what they do is, if you're visiting or if you're a citizen, when you look at that channel, you can get an idea of everything that's going on in that city that day.
Yeah. And I know there's a cost, but
yes, ma'am. I have Chris Floor standing right here, and I told him to give me a quote for the station, because that's in essence what it is the station. Because I'm very familiar with what you're referring to, and Channel 14 has really been this is not a technical term, but it's really been a hodgepodge of technology that has just been modified over the years. And in order to accomplish what you need, we really need to see what it would cost to create this station.
Right. Okay.
All right. And last thing for next week, just part of my notes here, I had a concern about the Centralplex and the Bowden golf courses on the level, because I know that stuff is different, particularly with the Centralplex, but making sure that we ain't undershooting they loss number, or I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. And Centralplex not our employees, so are they furloughing already? And our loss should be less already, or are they like a lot of moving pieces with them? And I know that Bowden is back open, and it seemed like it worked out. I was looking at some numbers where they were basically closed 2 months this year, but because of construction, they were closed 2 months last year and the year before that. So it seems like they may be even, but particularly with the Centralplex, I want to make sure that that's going to be okay, because I know their numbers can fluctuate in between $1 million and $500,000 based off 3-4 concerts. Yeah. And yeah. And I guess just so we all on the same page, everybody's fairly comfortable with the outside agency matrix right now, right? All right. If not, if no one has anything else, we can adjourn.
Can I just give a quick reminder, Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
I just want to remind the public that the comments for the budget are due by noon on Tuesday. Comments can be sent in to commission@Macon-Bibb.us. And they're due at noon on Tuesday. And then I'm going to aggregate the comments. So if you have, for example, 3 or 4 people that make the same point, then it'll only be read once, but we'll have the names of the people that make those points and that kind of thing. But comments are being submitted by email, due noon on Tuesday, June 2nd, I'm sorry, to commission@Macon-Bibb.us.
Okay.
Sounds good, Michael. You do a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And one more thing you reminded me of. The director, I got a question about the directive for the from the governor on nightclubs. You got any more information on that? Nightclubs and bars?
I saw that he put the order, he put the link for the order up online last night. I tried until about 7 o'clock to get it to open and I couldn't get it to open. So I've seen some news stories about the 2 new orders. He issued 2 new orders yesterday, but I understand that the links have been fixed today. So I'm going to get them and I'll be prepared to update the commission on Tuesday.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. There's nothing else. I'm about to hit leave.
Have a good weekend.
All
You as
right,
well.
bye, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Sean.